Well, everyone wants to have the yard and garden that is the envy of the neighborhood. And every month, our friend Perry from Classic Landscapes and the Ellerslie Gift and Garden drops by to give us some great tips and tricks. And of course, it's all about fall. Now, there's lots of questions that we have going on. So let's talk about fall prep and what is deep root watering.
Yeah, well, deep root watering is something just like it sounds. You actually want to get the water deeper into the ground. A lot of times what we see, especially in a really dry summer that we've had, the soil particles can actually act like shingles of a roof. So even when we do get some rain, it kind of hits and runs off, and it's not getting down into the root zone. So by using a tool, we call this a deep root waterer. So a tool like this, you can actually see, you just attach the hose here, nice and simple. You can actually just push it into the ground, and so you're getting that water in the root zone where it's important. And frankly, obviously a lot of our bigger trees especially are going to really need it for this fall.
Okay. I'm not going to hit any lines, am I?
No, you know, it's actually an interesting point. So if you do have gas lines and things, you do want to be careful about that. But typically speaking, we're talking in areas of the yard where you're not going to have power lines or gas lines. And typically, even though this is a longer tool, you want to go in about 6 to 8 inches into the ground. So maybe about this far, because the top 8 inches of soil is where all the roots are, generally speaking. And of course, that's where you want to get the water to.
Okay, and let's talk about watering at the drip line. What is that? Yeah,
so when we use a tool like this, typically speaking, the fine roots are the ones that collect water. And so they're really fine, and they're out at the drip line, which is where, if we take the shape of a tree, it's kind of straight down from the outside part of the leaves. So that's where all the feeder roots are. So a lot of times people, especially a mature tree, you know, they'll look at the trunk and they'll water right around the trunk. But the feeder roots are out farther in the yard. And frankly, the roots are going to be in your yard as far as the tree is tall. So if you can imagine a really tall tree, you're going to have maybe some even into the neighbor's yard. And so it's important to understand that you want to feed the area of the tree that's really going to be beneficial to the plant.
And would that be the same idea if you were putting in spikes?
Yeah, the fertilizer spikes, the same idea. Also, if you have a newly planted tree, obviously the hole we're digging is a lot smaller and the roots haven't established yet. So in that case, we're going to water closer to the trunk for sure.
Okay. Next thing about, let's talk about fall fertilizer. What should we be looking for when we're looking at those numbers?
Yeah, fall fertilizer, I got a sample bag here. One of the key things to understand with fertilizer is that the first number is nitrogen, and nitrogen is great for fast growth and greening, and we want that in the summer. We don't want that in the fall.
Okay.
We're getting ready for that dreaded winter, and so we need to understand that we want the plants to get hardened off. And so when we talk about that first number being 15%, and that's nitrogen, and then phosphorus and potassium. Potassium helps for stem strength and overall disease resistance of a plant. So if you can hit with a fall fertilizer this year, especially with watering, because watering is important, that combination is going to make it come back in the spring even stronger. And so it is a good idea this time of year. But you know, we've had a great fall, but we don't know how much longer we're going to have. So you're going to want to get on that, you know, sooner rather than later for sure.
And what if one of your plants or your trees had pests that you were dealing with through the summer? Is it something that you deal with now in the fall, or wait until the spring to try and tackle them again?
Yeah, it's a great question. The thing about pests is that typically speaking, when you're you know, doing pruning and things like that, you can do that kind of stuff this time of year.
Okay.
And make sure if you have something on branches or leaves that you're discarding that leaf litter into the green bin program so you get it away from the yard. The idea, though, when you're spraying, if you're going to go to the pesticide route, it actually is very timely and important. And so if the pest isn't active, a pesticide or a spray is not going to be very effective. So typically you'd be doing that stuff in the spring.
Okay. And then finally, let's talk about the leaves. They're falling now. Do we leave them where they are? Do we pick them up? Do we mulch them? What's your best suggestion?
Well, if you can mulch and have a mulching mower, that's a great idea because we're returning the nutrition back to the soil. But let's be realistic. A lot of times, especially in mature neighborhoods, we got more leaves than we have lawn. And so maybe we want to be collecting them, whether we use a leaf blower like this one. You know, the battery operated ones are nice and light and so very easy to take care of. Or you're going to rake them up. Again, we're going to go back with the green bin. That way the city will compost them. You know, it's a very effective way to take care of that for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Perry, for giving us some great tips on how to keep everything ready for next summer. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always check in with the folks at Classic Landscapes, the Ellerslie Gift and Garden. They're down on the south side at 100th Street and 6th Avenue. You can find more online at classiclandscapes.com.